You sat downstairs scrolling through your phone, waiting for Jungkook to come down. He had been up there a while now. You sat with your legs crossed over one another and big your nails. You was nervous that you both would be late to meet their new recruits. Jungkook finally started in wearing his all-black suit. You know he's wearing it to funeral, but shit, he looks really sexy in it. Chase wants to take me to a dance, you squeaked, sitting on the chair. Chase? Jungkook raised his eyebrow, turning to you as he lit his cigarette at the back door. Yes, 15-year-old Chase. You beamed at him. Jungkook puffed at his cigarette before blowing out the smoke. He wants to take my girl to his prom, Jungkook said possessively. Come on, Jungkook. He's 15. He's not going to fall in love with me. You went sticking up for Chase because you really didn't want him to be the only kid without a date. Jungkook let out a sigh. Fine, but he's not allowed dance with you. Jungkook pointed his two fingers at you warningly. Okay, you nodded, knowing you was probably going to dance with Chase anyways, because who doesn't dance at dance? Okay, baby girl, let's go. Jungkook muttered, quickly holding out his hand. You took his hand and walked out the door. He helped you into the car before hopping into the driver's side. You gazed at the veins on his arms that popped when he grabbed the wheel of the car and how he held his cigarette in his mouth with ease. Are you sure you'll be okay today? You asked him, giving him puppy eyes on purpose to try and get an honest answer out of him. I'll be fine. He nodded, but keeping his face void of emotion. You could tell he probably had to stop smiling to stop feeling anything. You just hope him liking you hasn't gone away today too. You don't know why everyone is so scared of Jungkook or calls him the devil. Maybe it's because you know he's actually an angel in disguise, even he doesn't admit it. His wings may have been clipped by his father, but you will help them grow and teach him how to fly. The rest of the car ride was silent until you both reached outside of the training grounds. Wyan, Jungkook stopped you from getting out of the car. You looked at him, giving him your attention. Yes, you asked innocently. You are my girlfriend, he stated while getting out of the car. You followed his lead and also got out of the car. Okay, but why the sudden commitment? You asked, worried. Because I don't want any one of these little shits hitting on you, and if they do, you can now tell them I'm your boyfriend. He rambled possessively, not realizing how overprotective he was being. Plus, who doesn't want the most beautiful girl to be his girlfriend? Jungkook winked at you before entering the highly secured building. You walked behind him. He was holding your hand, making sure no one took you from him. Here, Wyan, place your hand on this scan. Jungkook held out his hand to take yours. You gave him your hand and he placed it on the scanner, which was very cold to touch and slightly burned when it scanned your hand for some reason. That hurts, you mumbled with a pout. Fix the burning. Jungkook snarled at one of his workers before examining your hand. Your hand is fine, but just to be sure, you better keep it in mind, just to be on the safe side. He smirked cheekily, you knew. He just wanted to hold your hand. All you could hear was the tops of your feet hitting the heavy metal floor, but the walls were made out of stone. If these kids are rude, I'm going to kick the shit out of them. Jungkook rolled his eyes. He was already frustrated with the new recruits and he hadn't even met them yet. Be easy on them, they are newbies. You showed him playfully, earning a scold then a smile. Are Kai and Jisoo and stuff at the funeral already? You questioned him curiously. You was bored from all this walking. Put your hand on the scanner again, Jungkook said demandingly. It must hurt a lot more for other people considering you can barely feel pain at this point. You gently placed your hand on the scanner and it didn't burn this time. You think it only hurt the first time because it was imprinting your hand into the system. Jungkook kept walking, constantly looking back every 2 minutes to make sure you was still behind him. You both reached a glass door that slid open, leading you into the new recruits. They were all talking and getting to know each other. You guess the plus side of the mafia is that you can make some really loyal friends or some really unworthy friends who don't deserve your friendship either way. You will make both, and for you both, the loyal outweigh the unworthy. Look at Jungkook for example. Jungkook has been loyal to you ever since he realized he felt something for you. He may have lied a few times, but that due to his insecurities that he couldn't keep you safe. You would rather get beaten 100 times repeatedly by your father just to spend a moment with Jungkook, and that's the beauty of it. It's beautiful being around someone loyal who only wants the best for you. All the recruits stared at you both as you walked towards them. Jungkook kept his head forward, showing no emotion, but you could feel his hands searching for yours. He found it and grabbed it, intertwining your fingers. Boss, the all nodded in sync. At least you have some manners, Jungkook remarked with a hint of anger in the way he said it. You could already tell he despised this. The recruits were basically shaking. One of them raised their hands to ask a question. What? Jungkook snarled. He was so mean. You kinda liked it. It was a girl. Are you training us today? She squeaked, almost cowering away from him, obviously afraid of Jungkook. Yes, I will be. I'll be pushing you to see if you are worthy to be in my mafia. Jungkook strolled down the line of recruits, showing them his dominance that was radiating off him. He stood tall and confident. He knew he was attractive and sometimes you hated him for it. You stood in the corner watching him train them. Who's that? You heard one of the recruits chirp. It's just one of his words. Jungkook Jeon doesn't date. One of them scoffed while rolling his eyes at the other recruit, wondering how he didn't know that. But she's actually pretty, the recruit responded nicely. Ryan, mafia leaders don't stay loyal to their wives. It's just a known fact. He doesn't even kiss her. The little shit shrugged like you was object and not a human being with feelings. Hey, you called out to the two boys. They both turned to you and their cheeks became flushed, wondering if you had heard what they said. Do you want to ask Jungkook if I'm a war? You blinked at them, folding your arms as you stared them down. No, Ryan chipped quietly. I will. The second recruit said. Brian, you are crazy. Ryan gasped, almost dying on the spot. What? She is a slut. I am a recruit. Brian smiled proudly. Boss, Brian called out, catching Jungkook's attention. Jungkook raised his eyebrow to signal he wanted a response. That's your slut, right? He snickered slightly while speaking. You seen Jungkook gaze at you from across the room. He clenched his jaw while looking at you. You gave him a soft smile to calm him down. Who told you that? Jungkook snarled at him, scaring Brian. I just assume because Jungkook grabbed Brian by the throat to stop him from speaking. You would want to be very careful how you word this next line. Jungkook spat angrily at Brian, who was basically still a child. He was 16, not a lot older than Grayson and Chase. I have to go help him now, you sigh while starting to stroll slowly over to Jungkook. What if I told you she wasn't a slut? Jungkook growled frustratedly. I. The kid struggled to get air under Jungkook's grip. He clawed at Jungkook's hand to be let free while all the other recruits watched in shock. You seen the boy's face starting to turn blue. Well, guess what? She's not, and she's the only girl I'm with. Jungkook hissed, viscously trying not to lose control, but you think he already lost. Jungkook grimaced at the boy in disgust at his assumption. I'm sorry. He tried to squeal, the veins in his neck popping. Jungkook was so angry at the recruit that he didn't notice you was right next to him. You placed your hand on Jungkook's hand, which was wrapped around the boy's throat. Jungkook's trance of anger was broken by your touch. He realized that he released the kid from his grip, and the recruits stretched over to help their friend. They pulled him away from Jungkook. Thank you, but he's 16. You giggled at Jungkook, who gazed at you longingly. I swear I could have killed him for saying that. Jungkook gritted his teeth, staring like a hawk at the boy who could barely stand now. I think you should sit down. Let me train them for a while. You fixed Jungkook's hair while speaking to him. His face turned back to you. Okay, he nodded, agreeing with you. I'll teach them how to throw knives since you know I'm better at it than you. You smirked, moving your hand from his hair down to his cheek before winking at him and walking over to the knife throwing board. You picked up the throwing knives and threw them up in air a few times to get used to the balance weight. They were cold to the touch, exactly why you liked them. Okay, gather around. You demanded. They all made a circle around you. These are balance throwing knives, aka my favorite weapon. You stated as ran your finger along the edge. I could throw these with my eyes closed. They are that simple to use after practice. You flung the knife over your shoulder and hit the board close to the bull's eye. Your eyes met Jungkook's from across the room. He gave you a nod to show you that he was impressed by your knife skills. Now, if you want knives to be your specialty, stay if not stand over there and talk, but do not disturb Jungkook. You added a scold to the end of sentence. Most of them strolled away and started talking, and you was left with a small girl and tall boy and another boy. What are your names? You asked them. Jack, the tall boy with decently long hair, responded. Griffin, the other boy with blonde hair and braces, introduced himself. Cassie, the small girl, spoke up. Alright, I'm Ryan, and no, I am not a slut. You rolled your eyes at them. They smiled and snickered while looking around, observing the big hall. Being 16 and wanting to join the mafia must be tough, especially if you're not born into it. You get no special treatment and have to everything the hard way. You handed them each 3 blades. You release the blade when your arm is almost fully extended, the key word being almost. You pointed your knife at them. This is how you hold it. You showed them how your fingers wrapped around the blade, and then you throw. You flung the blade at the board, hitting the bull's eye. You want the blade to fly through the air with ease, like it's a frisbee almost. You examine Jungkook's blades. You love throwing blades. It was beautiful how deadly but small they are. If you didn't want to be a star, you would want to be a blade, small but dangerous. Okay, start throwing, you stated, spinning your finger in a circle motion before walking towards Jungkook, who sat on a chair near the corner with his eyes shut and his arms folded. He was trying to relax, but you seen that his fists were clenched, which means that his attempt was falling. You stood in front of him, your arms folded as well, mimicking his body language. Didn't you read something that said if you are in love with someone, you tend to cope? You push the thoughts out of your mind, refusing to deal with your feelings at the moment. He opened his eyes. Your knives are shut. You threw it gently at him. He caught it and examined it. They are fine. He squinted his eyes to focus on the edge of the blade to see if anything was damaged. They are not equally balanced, you retorted. Jungkook just gave you a confused stare. They are only training blades. Jungkook chuckled and swung the blade to the side. You shot him an impressed look. He raised his eyebrows at you, questioning why he was getting stared at. They are training blades. You are giving your newbies unbalanced training blades. If you train them with unbalanced blades, when they got balanced blades, they won't know how to use them. You scolded him. How did he not know this? Someone's feisty. His expression was blank and his eyes empty. You could tell he really didn't care. You huffed frustratedly before walking back over to the recruits. Okay, you guys aren't even hitting the board, so I'm going to bring them closer. You said, clicking the boards 3 places closer. It's not their fault to not hitting the board. It's too far away for beginners and Jungkook doesn't realize that because the man is amazing at everything he does. That's why he can't teach things, it just come naturally to him. Whereas for these regrets, they need to be taught properly and be shown with ease. I know it's supposed to feel like it's gilding through the air, but it doesn't for me. The small girl spoke up. That's okay, it felt like that for me when I first started. It will just take you a little longer to learn. You reassured her. A few minutes had passed and you had dismissed the knife throwing for today. You are going to convince Jungkook to let you teach them. They need a knife thrower as an instructor. Hey, Cassie, the little girl from the knife throwing, come over to you. Who said you could talk to us? Jungkook snarled, causing her to jump in fear. Don't be mean. You giggled, rubbing your hand through his hair. I'll be back in 5 minutes. Don't miss me too much. You winked. Jungkook threw you the slightest smile. Alright, shooting next. You hear Jungkook say before you left the room with the girl. What did you want to talk about? You asked her with a serious tone. You may be nice, but you don't like pulled away from Jungkook. Different members of Jungkook's mafia walked by, eyeing you both up. By you, both means only you. How do I get a guy like Jungkook? She asked with a worried expression. You immediately erupted into laughter and she just glanced at you and the floor repeatedly. You want someone like Jungkook? You asked her, shocked, trying to calm yourself down. You was being mean. Yeah, I want a mafia leader. She spoke with a weak voice. You kind of felt bad now. I'm going to be honest, Cassie. I don't think you will ever find a mafia leader like Jungkook. Most mafia leaders get married and then cheat on their wives continuously because they can. And if you are not their wife, you are the girl he's using to cheat. I got lucky with Jungkook. He just happened to like me, but most men will just use you for their pleasure and then leave or kick you out. I'm only telling you this because I know you didn't grow up in the mafia. You sighed regretfully. You didn't want to have to break her heart, but it's the best way to keep her safe.